Right. So just yes. Okay. So in the last session that we have done, we were talking about Python data types, right? In the Python data types, we discussed about few topics, which were the list, set, the tuple. These were the things we have talked about, and there is a video recording of all of those things. If you have not gone through it, you can go through it also, right? And I have also shared these code which I've written along with the video in the Google Classroom itself. Now we are going to continue in that, and there was one of two of the data types remaining. One was dictionary, and one was a string. So we'll discuss about both of them, and then we will move forward to the further main concepts of programming. We'll see about that. Okay, so go through the video. If you have any doubt regarding anything, you can ask me anytime during the sessions. But let's get started for this. Now, in the list, tuple, and sets, we have seen they have some properties which make them specific, which make them unique for different type of situations. So why are we dealing with these data types? Because when we are writing code, we are trying to do something, we are trying to run an operation. In that, there will be a need of data, we'll be playing with the data. So to play with the data, we have these data types where we can store data, and we have different options to set of operations on it, to manipulate the data, to change the data, to add more data, to remove the data. We have different options available, and when we work with these data type, it becomes quite easy for us to manage all of those things. So the next one which we're going to talk about is Python dictionaries. Python dictionaries. Let's give dictionaries. Now, what are dictionaries? What are the properties of dictionaries? So in the last few of the data types, you have seen list is one of the flexible data type, which stores a collection, and it is mutable. We can change the data that we have stored in the list. But the next data type we saw, which was tuple, we saw that if I don't want to change anything inside of that, if I want that once I have created the data, it should be safe and secure, not changeable. So for that purpose, we had this tuples, correct? Then we came to the next data type, which was set. Set was basically a set of unordered items where we don't have a proper sequence. We don't have a proper location of the elements. They can be randomly placed at any location that they get. The main property of the set was that it does not allow the duplicates to be stored inside of that. That was the main property. And you can use the set property to do a lot of things, to remove the duplicates, to get to know about the duplicates present in the data. And we will see a lot of use cases of that when we start solving the programming questions in the upcoming sessions. Now, let's see what is about the dictionaries. It is a collection of pair data. Second thing is, it is mutable data type. It also does not allow duplicates, and yeah, so collection of pair data, mutable data type, it does not allow duplicates, right? So these are the things which we get to know. And it is also unordered collection of items. It is also unordered collection of items. Okay, now, so this is what we are going to discuss about in this case. So dictionary is a collection of pair data. What is a pair data? We'll see. It is mutable. It does not allow duplicates like the sets. And it is a collection of unordered items, and very similar to the set. Let's see about the dictionaries, how it is defined and what is different in that. So let me create a set first. Take a look at the set. In the set, what we were talking about is that whenever you have to store something, you have to store only the unique items. You can't store the duplicate. So let's suppose I want to store my name and where I stay and what is my work. what is my work, and then let's say what is my hobby. Let's say I have these things, and then one I write this number, let's say. Now, when you look at this, this is how a set is defined. You write everything in the curly brackets. And when you write something in the curly bracket, Python understand that whatever data is inside this curly bracket has properties that it will be unordered and it will be unique. It can't be duplicated. That is the property. And this is how we define a set. But in this case, the problem is that the elements don't have a particular location. So if I want to access something, if I want to replace something, I won't be able to do that because they don't have a certain location. That was the problem. I can't change anything. I can't access any data. So to remove that problem, everything else was good. Set is a very powerful data type, which helps us for a lot of things. But the small problem was that it does not let us access the data and it does not let us change or replace the data. So that will be possible now if I use dictionary instead of the sets. Let's see how do we do that. Now, let me change the same thing into a dictionary and let me show you how does the dictionary look like. Let's say I create a new variable where I say the variable name is profile date. I hope you know what is a variable. It's simply a name that refers to the data, that refers to the collection of the data which you are storing. So that with that name, you are able to find out the data which you have created. Because you might be creating a lot of data, a lot of different collections you might be creating in a project. So how do you find out a particular data is using these variables which are reference to that data. Now, so in this case, what do we do in the dictionaries? We don't write the data directly, we write them in pairs. Suppose I have this, my name I've written. So instead of just name, I have to write something. I've written name as a text and then colon I've written, and then I'll write the name. Let me write it first and then I'll explain what these things are. Then I place and say New Delhi, and let's say role and data. And then we have hobby. And one, let me write age, which is also text. Okay. And since this is a number, I'm writing just like a number, not inside the quotes. So what I've done now, if you observe that this is something called as a dictionary that I've created now. So let us understand how dictionary is different from the other data types. Let's see. Yeah, take a look. So one, we have a data from here to here. Then we have this data. Then we have this data. Then we have this data. And then we have this data. So you must be seeing there are 10 elements. There are 10 values, you can say. But actually, there are not 10 values. There are 5 pairs of values. Where the first data that you see, name, place, role, hobby, and then age. The first item that you see in every pair is called a key. And the second item that you see, this second item of every pair is called a value. Key and a value. So in the set, there was one problem that we are not able to access the elements. So that problem is removed in the dictionary, saying that if you want to access any element, you can't do that in a set, but you can do that in a dictionary because they have a key related to that. The key is not our main data. Key is just a reference using which we can access the elements, access the data that we want. Key is just there for that purpose. And the value which are there, the Shikhar, New Delhi, data scientist, football, 29, these are our main data. And the first part is the keys are only the reference to that. So that I will be able to access that element, access the data. And if I want to replace it, I will be able to replace it since I have the key related to that. Okay, so let us see. This is the main unique thing about the dictionaries that we have. Let me run this code and my dictionary is created now. So if I check now the profile dictionary, you can see this is how the dictionary look like, where we have the pairs. This is my first pair, second pair, third, fourth, and fifth. 5 pairs are there. So let's see how do we access them. If I want to access, I just have to write the key. I don't have to write the value, I just have to write the key. So let me write the key. Suppose I said profile dict of, let's say I want to access this data, which is the data scientist. So what I will do, I will write the key of it inside this square bracket. Like we have been writing the index number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever we want. In this case, we don't have the 0, 1, and 2, 3 because the dictionary is an unordered collection of items. It does not have the index number. So if you want to access the data, you don't have to write the index number 0, 1, 2, 3. It is much simpler, much easier than that. We have to just write its key, which is easily visible to us. So if I write go to profile dictionary, this, when I say profile dictionary, I'm referring to the complete data. Complete data. So I'm saying from this complete data, search for a key whose name is role. And whatever value is attached to that key, show me that value. So when I run this thing, it will show me that it is data scientist, which is attached to that key role. This is how you will be able to access it. Correct. So let me write accessing the values of a dictionary. Correct. Accessing the values of a dictionary. You just have to write the name of the key and it will give you the value. Remember that the keys are not our main data. The first part that you see, it is not our main data. We don't do anything with that. These are not our main data. These are just reference. These are the keys which are going to give me access to these values, which are on the right side of that pair. So we want to access the value. We have to work with that value. Value is the main part of the data. Now, one way is this. You just have to write the name of the variable in which all the collection is stored, the dictionary. And then you have to write the name of the key in the square bracket. Remember that. Not in the round bracket, not in the curly bracket, but in the square bracket. Another option is that if you write profile dictionary dot get. If you write get is one of the predefined functions, predefined code, which is going to do the same thing for us. If I say profile dict dot get, and if I say the same thing role, it will also show me that the value. But this is something which you have been following. This will be a little easier for you to remember, but there is another option also available that you can see. Correct. Next thing is that if I'm able to access the values of a dictionary, can I replace it also? Is the next thing. Is it possible to replace that also or not? Right. So let's see whether it is possible to replace that or not. If you remember in the last cases, I have shown you that if you want to replace something, it is very important that you access it first. Because if you don't access it, you won't be able to replace it. So the problem in the set was a mutable data type in which we can replace, we can delete the value, we can add the value, but we cannot replace the value. We can't change the data. Because to change the data, I need to access the data first, then only replacement is possible. If you have gone through the videos, you might have seen that. So in the set, we can't access the data, so we can't replace it. In the dictionary, since we are able to access the data, we will be able to replace it also. Okay, let us see that. Replacing the data. Values in the dictionary. So let's see how do we replace that. So for replacement is very simple. Let's say I want to replace this thing, hobby. Instead of football, I want to write something else. So what I will do now simply, I'll first go to that part. I'll say profile dict, and then I'll go to hobby. Once I went to hobby, I'm able to access it. You can see football is the data. I'm able to access it. which is something which I want to replace. So when I'm able to replace it, I just have to say is equal to, I'm saying that go to profile dict, search for a key which is hobby, and whatever value is there, replace that value with a new value which I'm giving. Let's see what is the new value. I want to replace it with, let's say, working out. Okay. Uh, so this is my hobby, which I want to replace. Instead of football, I want to write that. So once I run this code, and after running this code, if you check the dictionary again, you'll see this thing that hobby is showing working out. It has replaced the previous one, which was football at that place. So like that, you can replace any data that you want. Just you have to access that key. And when you are able to access that key is equal to give it a new data, it will replace that. Very, very simple. So this is one method. This is how you can replace something. Okay, now let us see how to insert more values into the dictionary. Let's see how can we do the insertion of more values into the dictionary. That is the another important part. So to insert more values, we have seen that in case of set and in case of list, we were able to do the insertion of the data. In tuples, insertion was not possible because it was immutable data type. But in the case of list and set, it was allowed because those were mutable data type. In the list, if you remember, we have seen three methods. One was append, one was extend, one was insert. Similarly, when we go to the set, we have seen two things again in that case. So let me show you what we have seen in the set insertion. One was add and one was update. Add was for inserting one value, update was for inserting multiple values. So something similar to that, we will be doing in the case of dictionary also, but in a different way. How to insert more values into dictionary? You don't have to remember anything like dot add, dot update. It is much more simpler than that. Let's see. If I go to the profile ticked this variable, you'll see that there are 5 pairs and I want to add the next data into it. Can we replace the key? Yeah, key we can replace, but key we cannot replace directly. There is a complicated method for that. We can replace the data, we can replace the value very easily, the right side part, but replacement of the key is not direct. We have to write something else in that case, and I'll show you that also. But that is not direct, that is not easy to do. Okay, but we'll see that method. So for insertion of the values, let's see how easy it is. I have to just write profile dict and suggest me something that I should insert here. Name, place, role, hobby, age. What should I insert in this case? Anything you want to insert? Whatever you're thinking, whatever you think you want to insert, let's say. Let's say I write sport, okay? Sport. Or let me write education, correct? Let me say education. So I want to mention the education that I have done basically or anything like this, a data I want to add. Now, if you run this thing, if you say profile dict of education, it will give you an error. It will say that there is no key by this name, education. It is showing us a key error. Because you don't have any key by the name education. Your name, place, role, hobby, age. These are the keys that you have. But you don't have any education. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to insert a new pair, which is not available already. In that case, what I'll do simply is I'll say profile dict of education, and I'll say is equal to a new data. I'll simply mention the new value which I want to have with this education. So in education, I'll say masters, suppose, simple way. So when I do that and when I run it, it will remove the error. It is working fine now. And when I go and take a look at this variable or our dictionary, you will observe it has been added. The education as a key and masters as a value of that key has been added into our dictionary very easily. So whatever you want to add, just mention this thing, mention the name of that variable. In the square bracket, mention that key which you want is equal to the value which you want with that key. It is so simple. It is so straightforward. You don't have any update, insert, add, extend. There is nothing as such. You have to write very, very simple and straightforward like that. Correct? If there is anything already with this key, then it will be replaced by this value. Replacement will happen. Updation will happen. If there is nothing by this name, if there is no key by this name, then a new pair will be created by this key and by this value as a collection. Similar. Correct. So we have seen the replacement. We have seen the insertion. Let's see the deletion also. Delete values of a dictionary. Okay. Now, how would we do the deletion of it? What are the methods we have for the deletion? Let's take a look at that, right? So for the deletion part, if I take a look at the profiled dict, these are the things that we have, right? Now, suppose I want to get rid of something, what I will do is say profile dict dot pop. Let's say, are we able to use the dot pop or not? Because for the deletion of that, if for the deletion of the data, we have seen different methods. One was pop, one was remove, one was discard. So different things we have seen. In this case, in the case of dictionary, what is that method that we are going to use, right? So one is pop. Pop works when we are able to access something, correct? If you take a look at dot remove takes the name of the data that we want to remove, right? But in the case of pop, what do? We give the index number generally with the pop. But we don't have the index number in this case. What we have instead is the key of that data, of that value. So I'll say profile.pop, and let's say I want to remove the age part. I want to remove this. Okay, remember 29 is my main data. Age is just a key. That is just a reference. That is not my data. So 29 is something that I want to get rid of. I cannot remove 29 directly. What I have to do, I have to remove its key. When the key is gone, it will automatically take the value also with it. So both things will be gone. Once I remove the key value, both will be gone. I cannot access the 29 directly. I have to go through the key of it. So once I have written profile dict.pop age, it is showing me that it is removing the 29 from the data. And if I take a look at the profile dict after that, so you will see that age and 29 has been removed. That key, that value has been removed. So this is the simple thing that you have to do. You have to use the pop. There's not the other method that we have to use. Just the pop is there, where you mention the key, and it will remove the key value both. Now, so we have seen the insertion, we have seen the replacement, we have seen the deletion of the values in the dictionary. Now, let us see something else, which is some more methods in the dictionary. What are some other things that we can perform? Some other things if you want to perform is, one, we can make a copy of it. Let's say I want to say profile copy. I want to just make a exact copy of the pre-existing dictionary. So in that case, I just have to take the pre-existing dictionary, which is profile dict, and I have to say dot copy. Okay, so what it will do, it will take this dictionary, it will make a copy of that using this dot copy. And that copy data is another data that is going to be created at some other location. And that new data which is created will be saved into this new variable, which is named profile copy. So you run this code and you take a look at the profile copy. So you will be able to observe it is exactly same as the profile dictionary because it is just a copy. This is one thing. Now, suppose you have a dictionary which is quite large. It does not have just the 5 or 10 pairs, it has hundreds of pairs. And what you want is you're looking for a data and you want to see the keys. You only want to see all the keys which are there in the dictionary. You don't want to see the complete pair. Or at some point, you just want to see the values. You don't want to see the keys. So for that purpose, also we have something. We have to write the profile dict dot keys. What it will do, it will show us all the keys of the dictionary. Okay. Print all the keys of a dictionary. This is what it is going to do. Very similarly, if you write profile dict dot values, so it is going to show you all the values only of the dictionary. So this is print all the values of a dictionary. Okay, this is the thing to insert all the to check all the values, and this is dot keys is for checking all the keys. So once you're able to see the key, you will be able to access the data which you are looking for. And now one last one is the profile dict dot items. Once we say profile dict dot items, what does it do? It creates a list of, it will first create a list, bigger list. Inside of that, there are small tuples it is creating. 1 tuple, 2 tuple, 3 tuple, 4 tuple, like that. It is creating multiple tuples inside of a list, in which inside any tuple that you see is the key and that and a value. Key, comma, value. Key, comma, value. So we have key, comma, value inside of that. So list of tuples, and in every tuple we have key, comma, value. What is the need of that? What is the purpose of this thing, dot items? We'll see about that also in the upcoming session when I talk about the another very important item of programming. So this is the completion of the dictionary. These are the only things that you have to know at this point. We will add on to more things into this once we talk about the further topics. So dictionary must be clear. What is the need of that? What is the difference in the dictionary with other items? The different thing is that it is a collection, unlike the other things. In the list, set, tuples, we have seen those were single items. But in the dictionary, we have the collection. We don't have single items. Correct. And we have seen the properties like insertion, deletion, and replacement, all of that we have seen. Now, the last item which is left, last data type which is left is called strings. Okay, what are strings? Let's have a look at that. Strings are collection of characters. Collection of characters. Then strings are immutable data types. Immutable data types. Okay. And we'll see more of it. These are the two main things that you have to see. Strings are another data type, very similar to the list, set, and tuples and all of that. It has a specific use case where we are dealing with the text data. Specifically, text data. Suppose I have to write a paragraph of text. I have written 100 lines of text, 200 lines of text, 500 lines of text, and I'm dealing with that. How do I store that data? And how do I work with that type of data, which is just text? That is what we are going to discuss in the strings. So let us take a look at some methods in the strings. What things are there? So first is, we will see how to create a string. To create a string, I will say, let's say, word1 is equal to, simply say, a simple word, data science. Now, one single method is that if you want to write a text, you have to write either in single quotes, one quote and one quote, single quote, and the both side, and whatever text you're writing, you write inside of that. Second method is You write everything inside the double quotes at the start and double quotes at the end. But you should not do the mixture that you're writing double quotes this side and one quotes this side. This should not be done. This is going to be wrong. So you can follow anything. Either you follow single quote, you follow double quote, no problem. Anything which you like, you can follow. But it becomes very important to follow the single quote and double quote in a very specific case where I'm going to show you what is that case. So word one is data science, let's see. And word two I have created, which is, let's say, Python programming. This is the second text I've created where I've used, where I use the double quotes in here, single quotes here, double quotes here. Two of them I have created. And then third one is, let's say if I write word three and let's see, I'm writing something like this. Python is a very powerful language. Let's say I've written this text. Python is a very powerful language in which I want to highlight the word powerful. I want to put that into quotes, let's say. So I've put that into single quotes from here to here. Now, when I run this thing, what it will do, it will give me an error saying invalid syntax. Okay, what I've done, I have started my text from here. I've started my string from here using this single quote. This is my starting point. I was writing the text from here to here, and then I closed it with the closing single quote. But what is the problem here? Why it is giving us the error? And you will see, notice that there is a black word in the middle of it. Why is that happening? Or what is the solution to that? So here you have to make sure that you are using the double quotes and single quotes very carefully. The problem is, this is the starting point. Let me zoom in. See, this is the starting point where it is the single quote. And you can see here, it is getting the next single quote here itself. So which means that it is closing from here to here. Then this word is not inside this text. This word powerful is not inside the string. It started here, it closed here. Then there is another quote showing here. It started here, it closed here. So this space and this language is inside another quotes, but the word powerful is not inside in any of the quotes. So that is why it is getting problem that it started here and is thinking that the word has completed here itself. And whatever is from here to here is something wrong, something extra you have written, which was maybe by mistake. So what do you do in that case? You have to use the double quotes at the start and you have to use the double quotes at the end. So in this case, you can see the black color which was showing it is gone now. So double quotes is here, starting and ending here. So it will take everything as a text. And this is a different quote you have used inside. So this is not going to create any problem, right? When you run it, it is working fine. You can do the opposite of this also. You can use single quote and single quote at the end. Sorry, single quote and single quote. And in the middle of it, you can use the double quotes. Correct? So you have to use this mixture when cases like these happen. If you have used single quotes inside of the text, you have to use the double quotes in the outside. If you use the double quotes inside, use the single quotes outside. This kind of cases you will observe. Right? Now, what if you have, maybe by chance you have written both of them in the middle? The single quotes also you've used and you have used double quotes also. So for that, there are some escape sequences, escape characters. We'll see about that. How do you get or how do you deal with that if you have used both the type of quotes inside the text? We'll see about that. But for now, to keep it simple, just remember to play with these in this way. Now, if you want to write multiple line text, okay, not in just a single line, multiple line, then what happens is you can't do it like this. Okay, if you just follow the single quote and double quote, a single a pair of single quote, a pair of double quote. It will not work for multiple line strings. It will just work for single line string. So for multiple line, let's see if I have word 4. Let's say Python is a very powerful and simple language, which is preferred by the beginners, It is a multi-domain language. Let's say I've written this thing. Now see, everything in this case I've written inside a single line. Python is a very powerful and simple language which is preferred by the beginners. It is a multi-domain language. You see, from here to here, everything I've written in just a single straight line. That is okay. I can do that with either a single quote at the start, single quote at the end, or the double quote at the start, double quote at the end. I can do this. But the problem will happen when I use or I write this thing in multiple lines. Let's say I press enter here and change the line of this. Then this word, this statement which was showing in red color, now it is showing in black color. And if I run it now, it will show us an error saying some syntax error has happened. What is the syntax error? What is the problem here? Since you change the line, so when you change the line, when you write something in multiple lines, then you will not be able to do that with just a single quote or double quote. You have to write something else. What do you do in such cases? What do you do when you have to write something in multiple lines is instead of just single quote, you have to write 3 single quotes at the start, you can see, and 3 double quotes at the end. You see, you have to write this 3 single quote at the start, 3 single quote at the end. Or if you want to write the double quotes, you have to write 3 double quote at the start, and you have to write 3 double quotes at the end. Anything you can follow, but you have to write 3, not single, single. Single is for one line text. And if you're writing something in multiple line, 10 line, 50 line, 100 lines, then it is better that you write in this 3 single quote and 3 double quote. Now, if I run this thing, you will see it is working perfectly fine. There's no issue with that. Right? And if I take a look at word number 4, or if I say print the word number 4, print this variable, I'm able to see that the error has gone. So these are the methods. What are the ways we have to create the string? One is using the single quote, one using the double quotes. One is if you're using double quotes inside, use the single quotes on the outside. And if you have to write multiple line, you have to use 3 single quote or 3 double quotes. That is what are the methods. Now we have discussed about the basic methods. Now let's go and talk about the further things in the case of strings. So the further things are indexing and slicing the strings. Let's see, how do we do indexing and slicing? Now the thing is that when I have to do indexing and slicing, why would I do indexing and slicing? What is the need of indexing and slicing? We have seen in the previous cases that indexing and slicing is a method to access a part of the collection. If I've written a very big data and I want to just access a small part of it, that I can do with the indexing and slicing. Indexing is a method which gives us access to one data at a time from a collection. And slicing is a method which gives us access to 2 or more data from that collection. Remember this thing. Indexing, one data at a time, and slicing, 2 or more data from a bigger collection. So what do we have in this case? Strings are collection of characters. Remember that. So suppose if I write anything like this, I've written bunch of characters. These are single letters. These are single characters. And if I put that into this quotes, starting quote and ending quote, it becomes a string. This is a string. If you put a bunch of characters together in a quotes, it becomes a string. But are we going to create any data like that? No. Because whenever we are creating a data, it is for a specific purpose. I need that data. That is why I'm creating the data. Otherwise, why would I create a data? So whenever you create a string, it will be always meaningful. It will be something of an important text. It will not be something random like that. But let's see how do we access those things. Let me take a word from this. Let's see, this is our data, word 3. And from inside of this, I want to access something. How would I do that? For first, let's take the word 2. Let's see. Now, suppose that it is a collection. Don't think that string is a collection of 2 words. Python and programming, these are 2 words. It is not collection of words. It is collection of characters. So every character is individual data inside. P, Y, T, H, O, N. Every character, every letter is individual in this. Correct? And the collection of these characters make a string. Even the space that you see, the space that you see, that is also a character, that is also data inside of the strings. If I would have written a underscore symbol or dash symbol or and or anything hash inside of that, if I write any symbol inside the codes, everything becomes a string. Anything that I write. Now let's see how do we access it. So to access that, let's say I want to access just this H. This H I want to access. How would I access this H? So if I write word 2, can you tell me what will be the way I access the H character? Okay, we have already seen this in the case of the list and the tuples where we were accessing something. So in the case of list and tuple, the values which were there in that collection were our data. But in this case, the single characters are our data. So how would I access this? Let me show you very quickly. So if I have Python programming, I write Python, and then there is a space, then PROGRAMMING. So in this case, it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This space is a 6, then 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So these are the index numbers using which I can access any character that I want. All of these index numbers are there, right? Just now the thing is that if you want to access, let's say H, so what will you see for the H? For H, you're seeing that the index number attached with that is 3. So let's see whether 3 is working correctly or not. If I write word 2 of 3, and if I run that, you can see it is giving us access to that character, the single individual character H. Very similarly, if I write, let's say 11, whatever character is present at index number 11, I'll get access to that. Now, instead of just a single character, if I, let's say, want to access bunch of characters, what will I do in that case? Let's say I want to access the whole word Python. Just the word Python I want to access from the string. How would I do that? Let's see. Okay, now let's see how would we access the word Python. So if you have gone through and you have seen the cases of how do we access something from a list, how do we access the data from a list? As a refresher, quickly, let me show you how were we accessing the data inside a list. List was a collection like that. Let's say I have the square bracket in which I write 11, 32, 43, 21, 76, 95. Let's say I have these data. What were the index numbers in this case? Index numbers were 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our data was a collection of these numbers. But in this case, we have the collection of characters. So if I want to access something, let's say I want to access 43. So I have the index number 2 for that, right? Simply if I say 2, I'll get access to 43. But if I want to access multiple values, what do we do in that case? If I want to access, let's say 43, 21, and 76. So we will not be just writing 2, 3, 4. That give me access to all the data, which is at index number 2, 3, 4. We will not write that. Instead, what we will do, we have a better and a simpler method using which we can access. Okay, so what we were writing in this case, the method for this was, the syntax for this was the start index colon the stop index plus 1. Correct. The method was that we have to write the start index colon the stop index plus 1. Wherever we want to stop, we have to write plus 1 of that. So in this case, if you want to access a small amount of data, let's say I have a collection of uh, 10 values. And out of those 10 values, I want to access some three values or 4 values. I can do it like this. There's no problem with that. But in the real world, obviously, you can understand you won't be dealing with the data which has a collection of 10 values or 20 values. You'll have collection of tens of thousands of data. So in that case, if you're dealing with tens of thousands of data and you were told to access, let's say, some 2000 values inside of that, are you going to write the 2000 index number for accessing 2000 values? Obviously not. That will not be feasible for us. So what do we do instead? A very easy and simple method is we check the starting, where are we starting and where are we stopping. So in this case, if I want to access these three things, I will see the starting point, which is 2. I'll see the stopping point, which is 4. And our answer will be 2 colon 4 plus 1. Okay, 2 colon 4 plus 1, which is 2 colon 5. Correct? So let's see the same thing. Are we able to do in this case or not? So I told you that I have to access this word Python. There's a string which is consisting of these two words, Python and programming, out of which I want to access the one word Python, a part of that string. So how would I access the word Python from it? Simple thing I have to do. I have to check the starting point of the word Python and I have to check the stopping point of the word Python. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0 to 5. So what will we write in this case? 0 is the starting point, colon. 5 is the stopping point, 5 plus 1. And 0 to 6, if I mention, it will access all the character P, Y, T, H, O, N, and I'll be able to access that. Let's write it. If I say word 2, and if I mention 0 to 6, now you can see from the word 2, it is accessing that part which we have mentioned it to access. Simple and straightforward. Very similarly, if I want to suppose access the word programming in that case, how would I access just this part of the text? To access just this part programming, we have to write this thing. We have to check where it is starting and where it is stopping. So the starting and stopping point is 7, index number 7, and stopping point is 17. So the answer will be 7 colon 18. So if I mention word 2 of 7 colon 18, I will be able to access that data programming, the word programming. Now, this was simple thing that if I tell you to access something which is easily calculatable or which is easily you can something which you can check, then it is very easy. But let's talk about the difficult cases where you are going to get stuck. Let's say this. Now, suppose I tell you to access this word powerful, or if I tell you to access, let's say, print it. Let's say I tell you to access this word beginner. Suppose, just as an example, I want you to access the word beginner. So what will you do in that case? How do you access the word beginner? Because if you start counting the index number, if you start checking the index number, it will take long time. And also you can think about, let's say you have 100 line of text, which is a text which is very long, and you were supposed to find something from the middle of that. Will it be possible for you to find out something which is in the middle of it? Of course not. It will be very difficult. So what is the method to access something from the middle? This is very important. Focus on that. So one thing I have discussed with you, if you write word4.index, if you go to any collection, you write the name of that collection. Word4 is the variable in which I've stored the data. If I say go to that collection, go to that string, and give me the index number of beginner, because I need the index number to access the data. Right? So when I say word4.index, it is just giving me index number 72. I wanted the index number of beginners. It is just saying 72. It should not be 72. It should be 72 colon some other number. What is 72 here? 72 is the starting point of this text, which is 72 is the index number of this beginner B, B of the beginner. Correct. So if I just write word4 of, let's say 72, so you will see that it is accessing B, which is this B. But I don't want the index number just of B. I want for this whole thing from B to S. So what I can do next? A simple thing I can do is I can maybe write beginners, and then I can search for the index number of this thing, and I can mention that. Let's see. So let's talk about the cases. So this is 72. This B is 72. Then 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80. So 72 to 80 we have to go. Right. Now, if I mention this, where is this dot? If I want to go from B to S, which is 72 to 80, I have to go S plus 1, means 80 plus 1, 81. And at the place of 81, we have this dot. Okay, either I can mention or I can find the index number of this dot, or I can say, tell me the index number of this IT minus 1. And it will take me to this dot. Let me show you. So suppose if I mention word4 dot index of this word IT, it. So it is 84. Have I written something else? Word4 dot index of 80. 3, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 80, 81. It is showing 84. Okay, it is taking the index. No problem. Let me show you the dot 81. Let's see. So when I mention this 81, you can see it is the index number of this dot, which is where we have to reach. What I will do with this now, with this information, I can write word4 of 72, which is the starting point, and 81, which is just after the S. If I want to stop at S, I have to write the index number of the dot, which is after the S. So if I mention this part, 72 to 81, I will be able to reach that dot. But this is not a very good method. This is not a standard method, a more powerful method. It is very confusing. Instead of that, what I can do is there's something called as len of a character, a word. Let's say len of beginners. What is the len of beginner? It is 9. Len of beginners means tell me how many characters are from here to. There are 9 characters. It is telling that the length of beginner, length of this word is 9. And I'm going to make use of this thing to get the end point. Let's see. So I say from the word for, tell me this word for dot index of beginners. What it will give me? It will give me the starting point, colon, length of beginners. Now, what should I do in this case? Then of beginners. What should I do? Is this the correct method to write it? No. Because what is this thing? This is word dot index of beginners. It will be 72. Colon, what I do now? I'll say is word for dot index of beginner. Let me write. We'll see. Control V plus this len of beginner. And let's run. Next. Now see this, what I've done. A simple thing, a more powerful method I've tried to use here. What do I mean by that? I'm simply using this method. I'm saying word for, which is my collection, from which I am trying to write the starting point, colon, the stop plus 1 point. Simply, this is the thing I'm trying to do. So instead of writing the starting point 72 colon, the stopping point 81 myself, instead of writing like this, I can write this and this will work. I'm trying to use a more advanced method, a more dynamic method. So what will happen in that case? In that method, what I'm trying to do is that I'm saying I don't want to calculate the 72, which is the starting point. I'm writing a code which is going to give me the starting point, which is 72. So this part, word for dot index of beginners, this is going to give me the starting point, which is the 72. Colon, I'm looking for 81. How do I get 81? So I'm writing 72, which is, this is going to give me 72 plus the length of that word is 9. So 72 plus 9, it is going to give me 81, which is the number I'm looking for, which is the number you are looking for in every case when you want to select the data. So instead of finding out something myself, I've written a more dynamic method, which is going to calculate the index number itself, and it is going to fill it itself, and it is going to find out the part, it is going to find out the slice that you were looking for. Let's see some more examples of that. But for now, I think you must have got some idea. At least it is a bit confusing for the start, but you will understand. Let's try something else. Let's say you're looking for this multi-domain language. Okay, let's say you're looking for this multi-domain language. This is a part that you want to select. So how would you select this multi-domain language? Simple thing you have to do. You will say word for, and you'll say word for dot index and multi. I'm showing you first a basic method, which is a naive method of doing the selection. Then we will, in the upcoming cases, we'll see more advanced method. For that, you need some other concepts like conditional statement. I'm going to talk about conditional statement just after that, which will make searching for this easier. But since we don't know those things as of now, so I'm showing you a direct method that you're following, a naive method, which is not a very smart method. But this is something understandable. So what do you write now? You will say, what is the word for dot index of multi-domain? Because M is the starting point. And what is the stopping point? Language. This E is the stopping point. This M is the starting point. So to find the starting point, I can just write, tell me the index of multi-domain, or I can simply write multi. It will give me the starting point. Colon, what will be the end point? End point will be word for dot index and then this multi-domain language we have written plus length of this. Okay, let's see whether it is working or not. Say this. You can also mention multi-domain language if you want to make it simple, or you can simply skip that also. You can simply write that also because you are just looking for that multi starting endpoint. So you can write multi, it will give you the starting point with this also. Now, this is a naive method because you might be thinking that, let's say I have to select a bigger statement. Let's say I want to select something which consists of, let's say, 200 words. Are we going to write the complete statement to find out its length and then index number? That will be too much hectic for the selection part. For now, that is not the way you have to follow. There is another thing that I'm going to show you, but that consists of something which we have not seen. So I'll show you that part, then we'll come back to this. So we have seen this index and we have seen the stopping point, starting point. That is how we do the selection. You will understand more about it when we start using that. Now, let's see. This was the part where we were talking about the indexing and slicing of the string, which is if I want to access a small part within the string, how do I do that? Next, we'll talk about some methods. Some methods in the strings. So what are some methods that we have in the strings that we are going to utilize, that we are going to use? Let's see. So suppose we have a word. Let's say I take the word number 1. What I can do with these words, since it is a string, I can do a lot of things in that. I can play with this text in different ways. Now, strings are immutable. You cannot replace, you cannot change the strings once it is created. It is immutable. You cannot change it. So what you can do some other set of operations indirectly. Let's see, what do we mean by indirectly? Let's say if I write word1 dot upper, word1 dot upper, uh, change the string to uppercase. So if I want to change the string to uppercase, I will mention word1 dot upper, and what will happen? It will make everything uppercase, capitals. If I want to make something as one dot lower, what will happen? It will make everything lowercase. But the thing is that when you're writing this word1 dot lower, it is showing that it has made everything small. But after doing this, if I say word1, it is still showing unchanged. You see, how did we create the word1? Word1 consists of string like that. Data signs where D is capital, S is capital. But you see, I'm doing an operation where I'm saying, take the word1, make it lowercase. So it is doing that also. D becomes small case, S becomes small case, which were capital and capital in the original data. It is doing that operation. But after doing that operation, if I'm checking the word1 again, it is showing that nothing has changed. D is still like that, S is still like that. What is happening here? The thing is that once we have a string, you take a string and you want to do any operation on that string, which is showing that it has changed it. So what does it do? It makes a copy. Makes a copy of that string. Right? Python is doing what? Python is making a copy of that string. And in this copy, it is making those changes. In this copy, not on the original string, but it is making those changes on the copy. So you see, when I said take the word1 and do the uppercase of that, convert that word1 into uppercase, it is not converting this main original string. Okay, it is not converting the original string. It is making a copy of that and it is converting that copy, which is a temporary data. So that is why your original string is not changed in this case. Suppose if you want to change the original string, what you need to do in that case is, let's say you want to make it permanent. So you have to save it into the same variable back. What do I mean by that? Why I'm saying you this? Let's see with a very simple example. Let's say I create a variable num1 is equal to 20. I think I might have shown you, but I'll show it again. Say I've created num1 is equal to 20. I'm storing a data 20 in this variable num. Simple thing. I run that and I check, show me what is the data I've stored into this num1. It will show me 20. No problem. I say take the num1 and add 30 to that. Num1 is just a reference, which simply is referring to the data 20. So when I say num1 plus 30, I'm not saying add a number to a text. Num1 is just 20 in the background. It is 20 plus 30. So when we do this, we get to see 50. 20 plus 30, 50, we get the answer. Addition has been done. You see the operation has been done. I have added 30 to the num1. But after this operation, if I check the num1 again, it is still showing 20. Originally it was 20, but I did an operation. After that, after doing the operation, it is still showing 20. What is happening in this case? Same thing. It is making a copy of the num1 variable somewhere else. It is doing the operation on the copy data, not on the original data. It is just taking the help of original data to make a copy of it. Everything is happening in the copy, not on the main data. Now, suppose I want to permanently do this. I want to actually change the num1 from 20 to 50. I want this to become permanent. So what I'll have to do now is I'll have to save the answer back into the num. So when I say num1 plus 30, save it back to num1, it means whatever is the result of this operation, save it back to the same variable num. What is the answer of this? 50. I am storing 50 into this num1 variable, which is going to replace the previous data 20. Earlier it was 20 and now replacing it with the 50. So what will happen? It will be updated permanently if I do this now. Let me run this now and you check the number. It has been updated permanently. Very similar thing you have to do in the case of strings also, because strings are not mutable. Strings are immutable. You cannot change the string directly. So once I've done this thing, it did not change my original text. If I want to change the original text with this, I need to save it back to the word with variable. Then that change will happen permanently. Because then what I'm doing, I'm saying whatever is the answer of this particular code, save it back to this word one variable. It will replace the previous answer with the new answer with the new data. That is how the things are done whenever you have to replace something which is not changeable. Correct? So I'll not do this for now. Let's keep it for now like this. Just understand the concept for now. Let's see. So we have seen word one dot lower, word one dot upper. What are the other things can we do on that? There is one word dot title. What do we mean by title? So in the case of title, what happens? The first character of every word, if I've written, let's say 5 words, the first character of every word will become capital. Now there is something called as capitalize. Let me write it. Make the first character of every word capital. Okay. There is something called as capitalize. Okay. Make the string capitalized. What do we mean by capitalized? So I'll say word one dot capitalized. What will happen in this case? Sorry. Capitalize. What does capitalize do? Capitalize basically says that you take a text. In that text, only the first character that you see, D, is the starting character. After that, a bunch of other characters are there, but only the starting character which is there, it will become capital. Everything else will become small. That is what we mean by capitalize. Title means the first character of every word becomes capital, but in the capitalize, only the first character of the whole text becomes capital. Where are we going to use it? We will see the use cases of that, all of it. But these are two things. Let's see what more is there. The another one is, say, word1 dot replace. If I say go to word1 and replace that with something, what I want to replace. In this case, if I want to replace word, let me take word2 first. What was the word2? Word2 is Python programming. Let's say I say word2 dot replace Python, comma, Java. What is the text? What is the way I'm using? It is the original word, comma, replacement word. Right? The syntax is that Python is what I want to replace, and Java is the word which I want to replace it with. So when I say word2 dot replace Python and Java, and when I run it, what you will see, at the place of Python programming, you are getting Java programming. Means the word Python has been replaced with Java. But again, the same thing. If you take a look at word2 after that, it will not show you that change. It will show that nothing has happened. So what you need to do in that case, you need to save it back to the word2 itself again. So where in the word2, previously Python programming was there. So when you do this thing, what are you saying? Whatever is the result of that, the result is this. Save this result back to the word2. So this is the another text which will replace the previous text, and Java programming is something which will become permanent. Right. So when you want to make the changes permanently, you have to do this thing in such a cases. Correct? We'll see more about it. So we have seen the upper, the lower, the title, the capitalize, the replace. Let's see a few more things. These are all the things which are very important when we start making the big programs, when we start writing 10-line code, 20-line code to solve bigger problems. These are small things which will be utilizing at different places. Now, the next thing is that if you say there is a word like that, say I have created a word 5, which I've written like this, say Python programming, and say I've written 2 spaces after that. Just suppose 2 spaces. Now, what I want to do, I want to remove these spaces because these spaces are something which does not look good. Maybe someone by mistake might have written that, those spaces. I don't want those spaces. So these spaces can be anywhere. Some unwanted characters might be present in the data, which I have to clean, remove that. So what do we do in such cases? Let's see about that. So first thing is that if you have the spaces like that, how do we deal with spaces? First, let's look at that, and then we will deal with different characters. For this purpose, I have word5 dot r strip. Let me show you first. If I suppose have space on both the side. So this word5. This word5 has space on both the side, in the right side also, in the left side also. Both the sides we have the space at the end of the data and the start of the data. So in this case, if I want to remove the spaces from the start and from the end, I have to write word5 dot strip, and I have to do this. Once I say word5 dot strip, strip means remove the extra spaces from the start of the text and from the end of the text, both sides. This strip is not going to remove the space from the middle of the text. Remember that, never from the middle, just from the start of the string and from the end of the complete string, only at the 2 places. Correct? Now, this is the strip. So if your, let's say, spaces are just on one side, it is not on both the side. Let's say you have extra spaces just on the left side, or you have just on the right side. What do we do in that case? So in such case, what we do, let's say word 6 I have created. and I mention like that. Say I don't have anything on that side. So what I will say in such case, since the spaces are on the left of it, I will write word 6 dot L strip. L strip means left side stripping, because our spaces are on the left side, so I have to say L strip. Very similar to that, if I have anything in the right side, I'll say R strip. Okay, 1 minute. We have this. Okay, let's say word 7 dot R strip. So what is this for? Remove the extra spaces from the end of the string. And this is for remove the extra spaces from the start of the string. Right? These are the two things. And this is what for? These are for remove the extra spaces from the end and the start of the string. Okay, these are the things that you have to know. Remove the extra spaces from the end of the string and start of the string. Now, the important part is how do we get rid of something which is in the middle of the string? That is the main point. Let's talk about that also. First is, say we have word number 8, and I have written our text, which is like Python programming is the preferred programming. Python is the preferred programming language for data science. Correct. Say we have a text like that. Now, the problem in this text is that we have some impurities in this text. Impurities in the form, let's say, we have some spaces here, extra spaces here. Correct? Someone has written, say, dash by mistake here. Okay, one dash is there. Someone has written at the rate at this place. Okay, now let's see how do we deal with this kind of problem. Because this is one very important part. Whenever you are dealing with the data, you will get a very dirty, very complicated type of data, and you have to know, you have to clean in a way that the data becomes proper and consistent. So we are going to deal with three issues which are there. One is this issue, which is we have spaces in the middle of it, extra spaces. It should be one space, but we have three spaces. So we have to remove those two extra spaces. Then we have a dash in the middle of it that we have to remove. And we have at the rate, which we have to remove. So how do we get rid of that? You can start with any problem. It is not that you have to first remove the space or you have to first remove the dash. Anything you can remove anyhow. Let's see how do we do that. So first is, I will say word dot replace. In this case, when you're removing the spaces from the middle of the data, you can't use the strip part. Correct? Strip is not allowed, or it will not work if you want to remove something from the middle of it. It will only work if suppose I had the spaces at this point, and if I have the spaces at this point after the dot. In this case, the strip will work to remove the starting and to remove the end spaces. But if you want to remove anything from the middle of it, then that will not work. The strip will not work. So for that, we have to use the replace. What do we do now? See here. We have 1, 2, 3. 3 spaces are there. I just want one of that, not 3 spaces. So what I have to do, I have to remove 2 extra spaces which are there. So I will mention underscore, the quotes, and in that 1, 2. I'll mention two spaces. Why I've written two spaces? Because space is also a character. I've shown you that this space is a character. So when I saw inside the quotes, I'm writing two spaces. I mean to select these two characters, which are two spaces, 1 and 2, right? Now, what I want to replace it with, I want to replace it with this. What is this? See, I've written the quotes, but inside the quotes, there is nothing. Not even a space. I'm writing just this. So what does it mean? I am saying that remove these two spaces in this word 8 with nothing. I'm not saying it to replace it with a space. I'm saying replace it with nothing because you see, I've not written anything inside this quotes, the second one. Now let me run it. As soon as I run it, you observe now where I had the three spaces here, it is now just one space it is showing because I have replaced the extra two spaces with nothing. So basically, those are gone. Those two spaces which are there, they have been removed properly. Now the next part is I have to get rid of this dash. Correct? How do I get rid of this dash? That is the main point. To get rid of this dash, what I have to do is I will be writing word8 dot replace. The character is dash. So if I want to replace dash, I have to mention it in quotes because it is a character. So I mention quotes dash, comma. I want to replace it with nothing. See, I've written just the quotes, not anything inside of that, nothing. So replace the dash with nothing. Once I do that, sorry about it, to replace this, see, the dash is gone from here. For dash data was there, dash is gone from here. But what is the problem now? It is now showing the spaces here. Correct. Here I've removed those spaces. I am now trying to remove the next issue. But when I'm trying to remove the next issue, the first issue is still showing in that. What do I need to do that? What do I need to do for that? I have to do this. Word 8 is equal to word 8 dot replace. Means whatever changes I've made here with this code, if I want to make that change permanent, I have to save that back into the same variable word 8. Then that change will become permanent so that I can remove the further things which are there. Okay. So let me run this thing. And then after running this thing, if I run it again, now you will see that it is not showing that space. Now dash is gone. Same thing I have to do again here also. If I made one change, I need to save it back to the word 8 again. The replacement has been done. Now take a look. What is the word 8 now? The word 8 is like this. This space is gone. This dash is gone from here. Two things are gone. But what is the problem? Here, if you see for, and then there is a space. Then there is this dash, then there is space again. So I don't have to just remove a dash. I have to remove dash and a space. Two things are there. So better would be if you write this, instead of dash, you write dash and a space, remove dash and a space with nothing, then it will be more proper. So you see this problem gone and this problem gone. After for, the dash and space were there, one dash, one space gone. Now the last thing is remaining at the rate. So only at the rate I don't have to remove, at the rate and a space also I have to remove. So simple thing I'll write, word 8 is equal to word 8 dot replace this. I have to remove at the rate with a space, comma, with nothing. Okay. So now, if you take a look at word 8 now, this is clean. So where did we start with? We started with this problem, with this text, which had this problem, which had this problem, and which had this problem. Three problems were there, and we had to remove that in three different steps. In one step, I can't remove all of that. There's no option to do all of that replacement directly. So we have used this method replacement. I replaced the spaces first, then dash space, then at the rate space. Three issues were there, I removed that. So whatever issues you find in the string, we'll be solving this type of questions also, and you can remove these things from the string. Now, apart from that, there are a bunch of other methods which we will try to do it tomorrow because we have seen a lot of things and doing too much of that will make it more confusing. So first you practice this much, first you go through this much, and then we will go through the further steps tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be talking about another important part of the programming, which is called conditional statements, where we are going to decide if suppose I want to have decisions, if I want to make decision, suppose if this happened, then run this code. If this happened, run that part of the code. If I want to make decisions in that case, what is the way to do those in programming languages? Then we will talk about if I want to repeat something again and again without writing it again and again. I write something once and I'm able to run it 10 times, 100 times, repeat a certain part of the code. How do we do that? For that, we will also be studying something called as loops starting from tomorrow. Okay. If any one of you have not gone through the previous videos, you can go through that. If you don't have access to it, you can ask for the access to the team in the WhatsApp group. Okay. I hope you were clear with this. If you have any doubt, you can let me know. If you have doubt of the previous sessions also, you can let me know. Right? That is all for today. We'll see you tomorrow, same time.